Dr. Francis Collins, the director of the National Institutes of Health, tells the Washington Post that America is in the midst of not one, but two pandemics or epidemics. A biological epidemic caused by a terrible virus, and the other is an epidemic of misinformation. On Friday, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, director of the CDC, warned that this is becoming a pandemic of the unvaccinated. It should come as no surprise that many COVID cases are people who watch Fox News hosts and who downplayed the pandemic. According to Media Matters, between June 28th and July 11th, Fox personalities and guests made a total of 216 claims undermining or downplaying vaccines. Here's just a taste of the steady and unrelenting stream of lies.
Listen, if you didn't get a vaccination, that's your choice. And if you did, like I did and they did, and maybe you did, then you should not wear a mask. And if you didn't, if you want to go cliff diving this weekend, you don't have to check with me.
99% of the people who are dying from COVID are unvaccinated.
That's their choice.
This has never, Sean, been about following the science. It's never been about following the facts and the truth. It's been about control from day one.
There's no reason right now, no clinical reason to go get vaccinated.
Wow, their current argument is literally that people should have the right to kill themselves, just to own the libs. Thoughtful logic. But here's a nasty little secret. The corporate overlords over at Fox News have mandated vaccines for all of their employees who want to come to work. They've mandated vaccines for those who want to work there. And they've implemented even their own vaccine passport of sorts. All of this makes you wonder what the political advantage is of killing off supporters of Fox News, the GQP, and other right-wing outlets. Joining me now is Dr. Uche Blackstock, founder and CEO of Advancing Health Equity, and Tim Miller, writer-at-large for The Bulwark. And Dr. Blackstock, I have to say, I tweeted this weekend. I'll just say it again. You know, let's compartmentalize the Republicans for just a moment. I have a lot of friends who've got, you know, black cousins and uncles and friends who are also refusing to get vaccinated and who believe all of the conspiracy theories, that they will turn into a magnet, that they will become infertile. They believe all of it. And I tweeted this weekend, these people would never believe anything else that these MAGA people said. These MAGA people don't want you to vote. They don't want you to learn your history. They want to erase you from the history books and say slavery was like a picnic. They want to do, but when they tell you, you know, the people who think there's chicken poop ballot, you know, hidden, you know, there's ballots hidden in the chicken poop tell you you're going to turn into a magnet. Why are you suddenly believing them? Can you help us get to the bottom of why people of color are listening to these lies?
Yeah, well, thank you, Joy. And I did see that tweet. You know, what I will say is that people who have not been vaccinated, as you mentioned, have multiple reasons. It's safety issues. They're concerned about fertility, concerned about cost. There still are access issues that they're concerned about. But I think that they're traumatized. I think people of color, Black people in particular in this country, have been traumatized by racism. I think that even if you present us with facts, the clinical data from these trials saying that these vaccines are safe and effective, you know, these institutions have not been trustworthy towards us. So we have no reason to trust them. Add on the misinformation that is specifically being directed towards our communities. And it's being done so in a very insidious way. It's being characterized even as medical racism. So it's very hard for people to even distinguish that from actual facts. And I think that's the problem that we're seeing. Black communities, communities of color are specifically being targeted these days.
And they're being targeted in a lot of ways on Facebook. The same way, Tim Miller, there's a Venn diagram between the three groups of people who are being aggressively targeted, particularly using Facebook, to dissuade them from taking vaccines, and the people who were targeted in the last two presidential elections. It's the same three groups of people, and it's the same sort of weird conspiratorial hellhole of Russian-aided disinformation. But let's take the pin out of the Republicans for a moment. There's a couple of pieces of data. There's a YouGov economist poll that shows among unvaccinated people, 90% reject the vaccine for fear of side effects. 16% believe believe that the spread of COVID occurs among the unvaccinated. 1 in 5 believe the U.S. government is using vaccines to microchip the population. Another one, Gallup shows that among Republicans, the faith in science itself has plummeted from 72% back in 1975 to just 45% now. On the Republican side, is it a matter of disinformation or is it a matter of pure politics?
Well, look, I think a little bit of both, Joy. I mean, David Fromm was on the Bulwark podcast this morning, and he gave, I think, a comparison that was really illustrative. He's up there in Canada. They get Facebook in Canada too. You know, disinformation doesn't stop at the border, right? But Canada, who started vaccinating much after us because, you know, the companies there didn't do what Pfizer and the companies here did, obviously, so the U.S. got a head start. Canada has gone from behind us to now ahead of us in percent of the population vaccinated. Some of that is what you and the doctor are talking about marginalized communities and disinformation, of course. Obviously, we have a higher Black and Latino population here than in Canada. But a big part of that is these voters that you're talking about, the 20% that say that they think there's a microchip in the data. Those voters are being targeted specifically by Donald Trump, by Fox News and Newsmax and OAN. That is a unique to America problem that they don't have in Canada. There's no Fox News in Canada, right?
Can I ask you this question,
conservative politicians, right?
They do.
That is the difference.
That is, but can I ask you this, just from your point of view as a conservative, what is in it for Fox to kill their own viewers? What would they get out of killing their own people? I don't get it.
This is bottom up, Joy. It's a ratings thing. At the very start, Fox didn't like Trump either. It's what the people watching demanded, right? And so if you're going to give the people what they want, if there is a conspiratorial strain running through conservatism, I think there is. If there's this don't tread on me strain that obviously goes through conservatism, Fox, rather than doing a responsible thing, leaders, rather than being responsible and saying, okay, I understand your concerns about that, but here's X, Y, and Z, the facts, here's the truth, here's why you have to get vaccinated. They're enabling it, right? So they're not thinking long term about, is this person going to be alive to be in my ratings in 2040? They're thinking about the ratings today. Yeah. And the person that's doing the best is the person who's driving the most disinformation, Tucker.
Who's vaccinated? He won't admit it, but they're all vaccinated. They're required to be vaccinated to work there. They are the strictest of all the cable companies in terms of making them get vaccinated. Trust and believe. All the Fox people don't watch this, but if you did, if somebody sends it to you, all those people who are telling you not to get vaccinated are vaccinated. All of them. Dr. Blackstock, let's go to this one. Geraldo, who I don't usually agree with, said something I think is very true. He tweeted, you know, hearing crazy talk on cable TV right now about folks having the constitutional right not to get vaccinated. He's like, that's true. They may be dopey, but they do have that right. That's true. We too have rights to deny the unvaccinated access to our home, school, or business. Is the way to get people to get vaccinated the way that France did it? Said, fine, you don't want to get vaccinated, you can't go to public events, you can't get on a cruise, you can't come to this business, you can't come to the party. Is that the way to do it in your view?
You know what? I think so. I think the Biden administration has not wanted to wade into those legal waters, but I think they need to put the pressure on employers, on healthcare facilities to mandate vaccines. And we actually know when we survey the unvaccinated, there is a significant proportion of them who say they will take the vaccine if it's mandated by their employer or if it influences whether or not they're able to go to a sporting event or on a flight. And so we know that's going to make a difference. And so no pun intended, but I think vaccine mandates are going to move the needle for us.
And you know who's doing that? But you know why we know it's true? Because Fox is doing it. Because Fox is literally doing that exact thing. You can't work there unless your behind is vaccinated. At Fox. I'm going to leave it there. Dr. Uche Blackstock and Tim Miller. Thank you both very much. I hope you all get vaccinated. Up next.